the deal, yeah.
So do you want to introduce yourselves to the listeners? Who are you and what's your role in the wrestling?
Well, I'm Richie Delight. I am a wrestler across England. I've wrestled abroad, and I'll be debuting at the new Force Advance on May 14th.
I'm ring name Theodore Powers. I've been wrestling for the past 5 years. I've travelled up and down England. Once went to Scotland, once went to Portugal earlier this year, and I made my debut at the debut show in the main event in a losing effort
on March 16th.
March 16th, that was it.
So you've got a lot of experience in wrestling?
Yes.
Fair bit,
Would
yeah.
say, yeah.
How long have you both been doing this?
I've been doing it since about late 2010.
And I started April 2011, so just gone 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, so you obviously really enjoy it.
Yes.
So what's life like as a wrestler?
Well, it's not all hotels, is it, as they say?
No other life like it, really.
Well, like, of course it's something we love because, you know, we're wrestlers, we're passionate wrestlers, very passionate about wrestling, so, you know, for getting in the ring for however long you're in there is worth it, you know, no matter whether it's 3 minutes or...
You can travel about 5 hours on the train, another 5 hours to get to the actual venue, wrestle 10 minutes and do the exact same journey back, and it's still worth the effort.
10 minutes?
Yeah.
Is that because it's a round and then somebody gets knocked out and then it's over?
It's just, well, you could class it as one long round. It's just until the finish or a time limit.
Okay, so how does it work then? Because I don't know anything about wrestling. I'm sure some people at home are thinking, what exactly is it? I mean, we've all seen, like, Hulk Hogan. This is my experience of wrestling, watching on TV as a kid.
Okay.
So that's as far as it goes, really. So what's it all about?
In what context do you mean?
Well, what's a show? What would people go and watch? And
it's like pantomime, really, is the best way to describe it.
That's probably the best.
You know, you got your good guys, you got your bad guys, you got your crowd interaction, you got big moves. You know, sometimes you get fast cruiserweights, tag teams, all these different things that you put together to make.
What's a fast cruiserweight?
Cruiserweight. he's a cruiserweight, so very fly.
Oh, a weight.
Yeah.
It's a weight category,
Yeah.
is it? Okay.
So very fast, lots of flips, lots of running about, doing what you do, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
So something like that, then, that must take a lot of agility and speed. You have to be light, I guess. Is there a certain training that you do for that?
Starting off, there's always specific wrestling training, like break falls, how to protect yourself in the ring so no one's liable for any injuries. But then going into specifics on what you want to do in the ring, like cruiserweights, light heavyweight people, flips and stuff, usually need to concentrate more on neck bridging, agility,
Lots of leg workout.
Core workout as well, so you can keep yourself tucked in, protect yourself, protect your neck especially, because a lot of people will put their neck on the line, literally.
Yeah, it's all very dangerous, isn't it?
It is, but you know we're trained. You know, as WWE say, you know, they're professionally trained athletes, and we are. You know, if you're jumping into the ring without any training, you're just a liability, not only on yourself but on a company you work for. And you know, if you're a company, the last thing you want is to get 8 wrestlers injured on your show, because it don't really look good when you've got 8 wrestlers hobbling out there. But you know, with things like bumps and neck bridging and stuff like that, it's how to strengthen muscles. It's a bit like judo, you know, when they're taught to fall in judo. It's like that. So
we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the core and the leg workouts and how you train for it. And you were saying about doing classes. So does that mean that there's classes available for people to learn wrestling that don't actually then want to do it as a sport or for entertainment?
Yeah, there are multiple wrestling schools up and down England, but you have to know where to look. Like, Facebook is probably the best source of information for it, because most companies have their own like page, have their own Facebook profiles where you message in, they'll give you the information. A couple small examples. There's the London School of Lucha Libre in Bethnal Green. There's Kapow Wrestling, who travel from Horsham, Portsmouth. There's other such companies as Progress Training.
BEW do training, don't they?
BEW, British Empire.
So do they do it like from kids all the way up to adults?
It depends on the school. Like some schools have only insurance for like 16 and up. and some have, like insurance and what would it be, CRBs and stuff like that, so they can do kids classes. But it depends. Not every school teaches the same way, which is good. So let's say I left one school and went to a second school. If they taught me the same way and I got bored out of the first school, you just leave the second school. But like the London School of Lucha Libre, for instance, they have like an amazing atmosphere, and they teach all levels. They do training like 5 times a week or something like that.
They have Monday sessions, which are for absolute beginners, Tuesdays, which are intermediate beginners, and Wednesday for advanced students who have already broken into the business.
And personal private sessions.
And private training sessions once you feel you are deserving of them on Thursday and Fridays.
So is it a little bit like martial arts then, in terms of different styles?
Yeah, I would say so.
So you're saying you might not like one, you go to another?
Yeah, like certain kinds of wrestlers, you've got like brawlers, which are just strikers. You've got technicians, which is like chain wrestling and ground grappling and like amateur wrestling sort of thing. Then you've got submission wrestlers, which is obviously working like a body part or something. You've got cruiserweights, which is your flippy guys. You've got your big powerhouses that just slam everyone. So there's all kinds of different wrestlers. And
would you learn all different styles in a class and then be put into a category that suits you?
Most wrestlers kind of just self-categorise themselves anyway, don't they?
Yeah, it's probably best to learn every category that you can, so you know how to take it in the ring. Like if you are cruiserweight going up against a powerhouse, you need to know what they can do. So it's probably best that you have learned in the past in your training what they do.
Or you might get a bit of a shock.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult lesson to take in the ring.
So they don't put people together with different, like with the same weight. It's very, like you go with different categories.
What do you mean on a show standpoint?
So a tiny guy could end up with a massive guy.
On a show, like, because it'd be like up to a booker. So it'd be like a director for a film. They decide who works with who and stuff like that. What actors work with what actors. A booker would have to decide what opponents would make a great match for the fans, because you don't want some 600-pound guy facing some 100-pound guy, because it's going to be over in 2 minutes. So it's like with boxing or UFC. They'll put the guys who are going to work together, like McGregor and Diaz. They had an amazing fight, and now they got another one at like UFC 200. And that's like a big money match. And in wrestling, you realistically want 6 or so money matches per show, because that's what's going to get people in the door.
So by money matches, do you mean just sales of tickets, or do people actually bet as well on who's going to win?
No betting, no, not that.
On occasions, in like the bigger companies like WWE, you do notice that people do bet on the outcomes. However, in smaller companies, such as New Force Wrestling, such as most promotions in England, there's not really any betting. It's pretty much sell the tickets, they come along to watch a good show. The best way that I think of it is it's like a circus. You don't go to the circus to see one specific act. You go along to see the clowns, you go along to see the death-defying bikers, you go along to see the magicians,
trapeze artists,
you go along to see the muscle men. That's basically what a wrestling show is. You don't go along to see the light heavyweights, you go along to see the brawlers, the technicians, the heavyweights, the light heavyweights. It's a show in general. So if you have, say, 7 heavyweights on a show and no flips, people are going to get very bored very quickly.
It's going to get very stale.
So how long typically is a show then?
It depends on sort of how big the show is. Like obviously a WrestleMania or something is going to be a lot longer than a New Force Wrestling show. Yeah. New Force Wrestling shows are always going to be between sort of an hour and a half and sort of 2.25 hours, because you'll find people get sort of restless. Like after that, like a lot of kids are getting restless and things like that.
So it is for kids as well?
Yes, it's a family-friendly show.
So people don't actually get hurt?
Well, there are injuries, but very, very rare.
Obviously there's risks.
Yes, like, one of them got an elbow in the face, wasn't it? Matthews.
Ouch.
Yeah, go on.
There's always the risk of injury in wrestling, so that's always there. That's never going to go away. But family-friendly shows, we do try and keep it protected as best we can as professionals.
There's stuff in shows for both adults and kids, so it's not like you take your kid and you're sat there bored for 2 hours. You engage every one of the audience members with different things to suit their styles. Like, you know, a dad might be like, wow, these two guys are caning each other in the ring, and kids might go, oh look, it's Theodore Powers doing a frog splash off the top rope, yeah, you know, it caters to everyone. So it's not the shows aren't just a one-trick pony, so to speak.
Sounds good. So are there other things that go on in the shows?
Raffle, usually.
There's usually an interval in between all of the matches, just to give the fans a breather, because if you've had 3 amazing matches open the show, you're going to need a break before you see 3 more amazing matches. And there's always the raffle, which we usually try and get done either before the main event or during the interval, isn't it?
Yeah, and always a meet and greet with the fans, meet and greet with the wrestlers, sorry, should I say. You know, it's one thing you try and do, because if you give them a free meet and greet, then they love it, because they've met the guys that have entertained them for 2 hours, rather than charging them extortionate amounts, which no one's going to want to do. If they get to meet the you know, the wrestlers like the Theodore Powers or the you know, the Bruiser Broomsons, or, you know, the Daniel Masters, something like that, someone that's entertained them for 2 hours, then they're going to want to meet them, and then they get that pleasure at the end of the show.
Okay, we're going to take a little song now, and then we'll be back, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your training for the wrestling. Welcome back. It's the FeustelFIT Health and Fitness Show. It's 2 o'clock on Tuesday, the 12th of April, and I've got with me New Force Wrestling Team. So you just listened to the local news and also what's on locally, and New Force Wrestling have a show coming up on Saturday, May 14th. It's at West Drayton Boys Club, Cherry Lane, and it's £6 for adults, £3 for kids, or a family of 4 is £15. So if you're interested, go along to New Force Wrestling on Facebook. All right, welcome back, guys.
Welcome back.
Hello.
So we were just getting into a little bit about teams there. We were talking off air. Do you want to tell us about the teams that you've got, and tag teams and things like that? What's it all about?
We've got the most famous tag team at the moment. So
The most famous, wow.
Well, infamous, I should say.
Infamous, yeah. Basically, I team with Theodore Powers, his dad, Stan Powers.
So I being Richie D. Light.
Richie D. Light, yes. And we wrestle for some companies up and down. We wrestle for WWW in Gillingham and EWW in Hastings, which pack in over 1,000 people a show. And we go out there and we get, you know, the royal whatever kicked out of us, you know what I mean? And we faced one of the probably the best team, the best tag team in England, the UK Hooligans, in what I say was a very fair match. I would say
I would disagree with you there. So
I think we got a lot of offence in. So
I don't. Talk about tag teams.
So a tag team, like, to make a good tag team. So
what is a tag team?
It's 2 or more people put together. So normally tag team matches are 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, etc., etc. It has to be even number on each side, above 1.
Sounds a bit crowded.
Well, there's only 2 in the ring at a time.
Okay.
So to want to be on the apron, want to be on the other apron, you tag your partner in.
What's an apron?
The ring apron. So you got the 4 ropes. You'd stand on the outside of the ropes, above.
Okay, so you're ready to come in.
Right.
So I take it you tag them and then they come in and
Yes.
you jump out.
And when you tag, you got 5 seconds to get out of the ring.
Okay.
Or else you risk a disqualification. And to get a good tag team, you need chemistry. A lot of people form a tag team, and it could be like, let's say me and Theodore are great friends. We form a tag team. We could have absolutely no chemistry in the ring. You know, we can have no timing whatsoever, and it will look absolutely silly. You know.
Yeah, tag teams. Personally, I like to see the tag team. One person's the workhorse, they do the in-ring work, and the other person is the voice. They work the crowd. They get the crowd into the match. They get them emotionally invested into what the workhorse of that tag team is doing.
So it works. So nothing's not happening, if that makes sense. There's always something going on, you know, like with me and Stan. Stan is the voice, and if he's listening, you cannot disagree because you are the voice and I'm the workhorse. But so I'll always do the work in the ring, and Stan will be engaging them. So if we're the bad guys, boo, look what we can do, look what you can't. If we're good guys, come on Richie, you know. So it's always trying to keep the the crowd doing something, whether it's chanting to, you know, hate us or love us.
Sounds like a really good atmosphere.
If you get good tag teams, yes.
And a good audience.
Yes, always a good audience is helpful.
Nothing worse than wrestling in silence, to be honest. So.
Very true, Japanese crowds.
So do you have people like revving up the audience before you start?
What, like an MC?
Or like I don't know what you call them, the people that go round and make people cheer on before you get in?
Yeah, like a ring announcer, yeah. Some, but it obviously depends how good they are. Some like to go out and just do the match and go backstage, whereas I had to ring announce on the first show. So I wanted to make sure that the audience, because a lot of them were very casual, a lot of them you could see haven't been to a wrestling show, you know, whether it be WWE or, you know, wrestling at the Beck Theatre or something like that.
And that was the point of New Force, wasn't it? To bring wrestling to West Drayton,
exactly.
Where there's not really any wrestling shows for the casual fan to attend.
Exactly. So you could see a lot of them, they need to know who to cheer, who to boo, stuff like that. So I did some, like, you know, how loud can you be during matches, got them loud, got them nice and pumped up for the match. So when people like Theodore walk out, his job's easy because they know that Bruiser Broomson, who beat you on the first show, by cheating, he was, you know, the bad guy. So immediately, by him doing his job and the ring announcer doing his job, Theodore, all he has to do is walk out and they'll want Theodore to win. You know, so when everything's done right, it just fits together like a really easy jigsaw. Right.
So you say sometimes you're the bad guys and other times you're the good guys.
Yes.
Do you not have the same character all the time?
It's always dependent on what company you're working for. For example, New Force Wrestling, I'm a good guy. However, if you go to, say...
Are you a bad guy anywhere?
I think so.
Ricky Steamboat over here, never been around.
Plexeed Wrestling, for example, up in Luton. FTW, down in Uxbridge, or wherever Uxbridge is from here. I'm a bad guy on occasions. It just depends on what the booker is needing from you on that show. Like, if one show, you're a good guy and you're second match on and you lose, but then the next show, which say is 6 months later, they've got too many good guys on the show, they will switch you to being a bad guy. But because it's been 6 months, it doesn't necessarily have to have consistency between shows.
Yeah, so if the fans aren't kept up to date, then they forget what happens. You know, that's why things like Facebook and Twitter and websites and stuff are so important, because then you can keep the fans filled in of, you know, stuff that's happening. I know we've been promoting this on Facebook, for instance, so hopefully a lot of people tuned into.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get some more people. So do you have to get a number of followers for your character?
No, not really.
Most professional wrestlers these days usually have their own Twitters, their own Facebook like page. For example, you've got, what, just over 700 on your Delightful Powers tag team?
Delightful Powers, yeah, it's quite a bit now.
And I've just broken the 800 like limit for my Theodore Powers page, Theodore Powers Pro Wrestler. Like it on Facebook, thank you.
New Force Wrestling on Facebook, it's got just short of about 500, I think.
And that's only been on there for about 2 months.
Since January.
So you need to get a New Force Wrestling Twitter account.
Yes.
And then we'll tweet you.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
At Hayes FM Official.
Twitter conversation.
Alright, so talk to me about your training then.
Okay, I'll let you go first. Talk about being a
So you mentioned doing core exercises and agility and amazing leg workout.
Amazing leg workout.
Wow.
No, being a cruiserweight, it's more mental state of training, to be honest. Like, you do have to look the part. You do have to look the part of a wrestler so people will come and see you, and that you can actually flip. So
what does a wrestler look like?
Well, they come in all shapes and sizes now, but I mean,
the generic look is really.
It depends on your character, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like the Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, like,
going back to him.
You just got to look like someone who can do what we do. I mean,
larger than life is probably the best word for it, because if
maybe not, because that looks like we all need to be 600 pounds.
But no, if you look exactly like someone that's just walked in and sat in the second row, they're going to think, why am I paying to see him when I could do exactly the same? I look exactly like him.
When I look like I could paste him.
However, if they come in and they see you and you look larger than life, which is what the wrestling ring is essentially for, other than wrestling it, it's a raised platform. It makes you look larger than life to the audience. So that in itself is what you want to be doing training for look-wise.
So what sort of training are you doing in the gym?
What you do?
Do you have to...
What do I do? Oh, vending machine. There we go. That's a good one. I like that.
Is that chocolate?
What's the water fountain? That's a good one.
I mean,
like that one.
Richard, you were mentioning doing like strength training,
Yeah,
and you've got martial arts as well. You were doing.
Yes, more in the gym though is it sort of depends what you want, because obviously you know about like hypertrophy and strength training and muscular endurance and things like that, as I do. Went to college for 2 years to study it. But it sort of depends what you want. Like I don't know really. I don't really slam people about, do I?
Because I imagine lifting somebody, over your shoulder or something, you can mimic those type of exercises in the gym with sandbags or lifting a barbell.
Yeah. Military press, for instance, is just shoulder press. So when you're lifting someone above your head, and obviously, like if you're taking someone on your shoulders, then you just squat, or lunges with a barbell on your shoulders. So things like that, they can be mimicked to a point, but really the only way to get better at those things is to do those things.
Yeah, as it goes with any sport.
It's like you can't learn to swim without being in a pool.
Yeah, I've tried.
Swimming on the floor don't work as well as when you're in the water. But so that's the problem with with wrestling. It's got a very like stop-start fitness, so it's a bit like fartlek, but you're down, up, running off the ropes. You take a bump, you're up, you're lifting someone. So
fartlek, for people who are listening who don't understand, it's Swedish for speed play. So it means you could be working faster one moment, slow the next, but it's not like intervals where it's timed. It could be at any moment.
Yeah. But in the ring, that's kind of what it is, and it's one of the burdens with wrestling. You can only really improve your in-ring fitness by being in-ring, but obviously...
So with a show coming up, how long do you train for it? Or do you have to train
all the
for
time.
it? Or you just continuously train all year round?
Because, like this is only one show, but Theodore, how many shows you got coming up?
I done 6 matches over the weekend just gone. This weekend I've got another 2 shows. Weekend after I've got another few. Every weekend up until I don't even know when. So
yeah. So with independent wrestling, you can take. Well, I say take. You can be offered many bookings or very few. Like I've got not many coming up. Theodore's obviously filling up the diary pretty quickly.
You've never really done learning in wrestling. Like you can ask someone that's been doing it for 25 years if they've learned anything in wrestling recently, and they'll say, yeah, I've learned this and this and this. You've never done learning in wrestling.
I wasn't really sure where you were going with that. You took it off me and took another tangent there. But like you can't, like with the UFC or a boxing match, you obviously have 3 months to prepare. Let's say you're going up against someone, you've got to prepare for their left hook or something. You can't do that with wrestling because you can work as much or as few dates as you want. So you always have to be in good enough, sort of condition to go. You can't really sit off for 4 months and then do a booking, because you'll find you'll have no fitness. It'd be like if you played football and during the pre-season you did nothing and then went back into the season, you'd find it very, very difficult to adjust. So
if you get fully booked, then it seems quite a good career.
Yeah,
do you have normal jobs in the week?
I currently study, but I am looking for a part-time job during the week, so it doesn't interfere with the rest of my booking, so I don't let the bookers or the fans down for that matter.
And what about yourself, Richard?
Yes, I won't say where I work, but I work. So I earn the monies. So
Secret Service.
Yeah. What I do would contradict my training, so I'm not going to talk about that on live.
Okay, and finally then, with all of this training that you're doing at the weekends, have you ever had any serious injuries?
I felt like I broke my ankle in commentary one time because I jumped from the top rope to sort of like a wooden floor, and it didn't Well, that's what
Where was that?
That was Coventry. Said it, mate. Said it.
So you do stuff outside of the ring as well, then?
Yes. You know, it depends what they want to do. Really, it depends what the booker wants from you.
Yeah.
Like some bookers are quite laid back and they say, "I'll do whatever you want," sort of thing. But some are like, "Oh, you like these certain things have to happen," and to which point, if they're paying you, they can sort of dictate that. Because if you went to a job, let's say you worked I don't know, Argos, and they were like, sweep the floor, and you go, no, they'd be like, actually, I'm paying your wages, so you're kind of, you know, doing whatever I ask. So it can happen. I mean, obviously you don't do suplexes and all that on the outside for no reason.
Yeah.
It's you go on what the crowd feels, on what the crowd needs, so to speak.
Any serious injuries, Callum?
I think the most serious injury was I took a bump wrong once, landed directly on my right shoulder and tore most of the ligaments in the shoulder.
Oh.
But thankfully it wasn't as serious as first thought, and about a month or two later I was back wrestling after a bit of recovery.
So to anybody out there, if you are interested in doing wrestling, so long as you train well,
yes.
You've got a good team behind you, yeah, then you should be fine and not get injured.
Yeah.
And it's safe and entertaining for us all to watch.
Of course.
All right, so then finally, if you just want to tell us about the show, how people can get a ticket, and then if you have like social media where people can follow you or a telephone number.
Okay, well, basically, to buy tickets, you go to New Force Wrestling on Facebook, and the event page is up there. It's called the New Force Advance. It's taking place on May 14th at the West Drayton Boys Club on Cherry Lane. As Nicola said earlier, adults are £6, child are £3, and a family of 4 is 15. We have one match already announced, which is Dave Francisco v Conor Danielson for the APW, which is a Portuguese world title, I would assume that's called.
Yeah, it's being defended in England, so...
And we shall give you a second match announcement right now, you know, to spice up this radio interview. So it will be Bruiser Broomson taking on the debuting Scatman, which is a real life superhero. So he'll be one worth cheering. Doors open at 3 o'clock and the bell time is at 3:30, and it's in association with Invest Photography, Alfie Wiley PT and Room 316 that are sponsoring the show.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming in, guys.
No problem.
Thank you for having us.
You are welcome.